Hello, hi, what's up guys? Welcome back to my channel. Today we are doing 3 looks with a new palette. I'm excited for this palette because I have never used anything from this brand before. And if you haven't figured it out by now, I have a very large makeup collection. So a brand being entirely new to me is a fairly rare phenomenon. There's a reason this time though. So the palette that I'm working with today is the NATASHA DENONA Sunrise palette. And the reason I have never bought a NATASHA DENONA palette before, because oh my Jesus, they are expensive. Generally, when she comes out with a new palette, they are around $129 for one 15-pan palette. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. If you want to buy a $129 palette and you like it and you think it's worth it, then absolutely. But I just can't do it. You know why? Because I'm a cheap ass bitch. You know why? Because I don't really got it like that. You know what I'm saying? $129. That's like 3 palettes. Perhaps one day in this life I'll be in a position where a $129 palette doesn't mean anything to me, but as of right now, holy shart, that's a lot. The Sunrise palette though is the first palette that NATASHA DENONA has released that is at a lower price point. Of course, there is a reason why it's at a lower price point. Although this pan is still 15 shades, it is only $65, and I say only just by comparison to her normal prices. I knew that there was a catch. I knew that she just wasn't like, you know, giving a handout to us folks who don't want to spend $129 on a palette. So I went on the Sephora website and compared this to her other palettes, and the reason why this is $65 instead of $129 is because it is exactly half the amount of product as her usual eyeshadow palettes. So you are still paying the exact amount per gram that you would be paying for her other palettes, but you're getting half the grammage in this one, even though you're still getting the full layout of colors. At the end of this video, when I do my little review where I touch on my thoughts on the palette after using it 3 different times, I will get into more of my thoughts on that. And of course, as always, that will be timestamped down below, as well as each of the looks if there's one in particular that you would like to jump to. I respect your time, so I try to make it easier for you guys. I'll also list all of the products I use in the description down below as well. For those of you waiting for an update on my book club series, the next episode of Get Ready With Me will be the first week of July, and we'll be discussing the first half of A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas. It is the next book in the series that we already started, so I will leave all of the information that you need, how far we're going to read, a link to the book, a link to the previous book, a link to the previous video in the description down below if you are not caught up and you would like to be. Please don't forget to leave a like on this video if you don't mind taking a second to do it, because I really would appreciate it. And you know what? It's a rainy day and I'm a little hungry as usual. I just need something, just a little spark, just to brighten my day for me. And if you would leave a like on this video, oh, it's the simplest thing, but it would be that spark for me. And if you are new here, please do not forget to subscribe, because I would love to have you around for more videos. And you know what? Quite frankly, if you don't, you see these guns here? You see that? Oh, you see that bicep? It's coming for you. Actually, why do my forearms look so big in this camera angle? They look like Popeye arms. What is this? It looks so long. So weird. We've got 3 whole looks to do, so in the interest of not keeping you here too long, let's just get started on the first look with the NATASHA DENONA Sunrise palette. Okay, so this is the inside of the palette that we're working with today. Matchy with my nails yet again. It's almost like I planned this. Actually, you know what? I don't plan this, but it's like a mood, you know? I get into a mood with certain colors and then it all makes sense. So I'm picking up a BH number 6, and I'm gonna start by going into the shade Morgan, which is like a medium peachy tone shade. Just putting that through the general crease area, blending it upward. Nice pigmentation and blendability on that so far. I'm also gonna grab a MAC 221S and I'm gonna go into the shade Glory, and I'm gonna put that more directly through my crease. I'm gonna go back into the same shade Glory, and this time on a Real Techniques shading brush, and I'm just gonna pop that on the outer corner to bring that together. Now I'm gonna take my Sigma E36 and I'm gonna go into the shade Clove right here. Ooh, this opens up wider. That's more convenient. And I'm gonna take Clove and put that right in the outer corner and deepen the crease a little further with that. Next, on a NABLA dab and smudge brush, I'm gonna go into the shade Phlox. I'm gonna pick that up, I'm gonna try dabbing it on first dry, and then I'm gonna see if I wanna do it wet or not. Ooh, that works beautifully without wetting, wow. Okay, Natasha. I'm gonna pick up the same brush. I just cleaned it off on a sponge in between, and I'm gonna go into the shade Azalea. This pan is a little loose in the palette, which is annoying. Put that right in the center. And for the inner portion of the lid, I'm gonna go into the shade Awakening. On a pencil brush, this is a Sigma E30. I'm gonna go into the shade Citrine, which is the pastel-y mustard. This is like a Dijon mustard yellow. That's what this is. And I'm gonna pack that on the inner corner. Ooh, this is a, The pigmentation on these are a freaking delight, I have to say. Next, I'm gonna grab oh, I have a little hair stuck. Do you ever get like an invisible hair? It's usually like a dog hair or something stuck to like your nose area or just somewhere in your face, and you can feel it, and it's the most annoying feeling in the world, but you can't see it. You can't grab it. Anyways, I'm gonna pick up this Luxie 121 mini, and I'm gonna go back into the shade Glory, which is kind of the berry shade in there, and I'm gonna use that softly underneath my lower lash line. This freaking hair is still here. Eee! On a Nabla lash line smudger brush, I'm gonna go back into Clove again. And on like the outer 1/3 of the lower lash line, I'm just gonna push that right underneath the lower lashes and hook it around to the top. Hook it up. I feel like what will make this really fun and more sunrisey is a yellow winged liner. So I'm gonna use the shade Banana Blaze from Fenty. This is a little bit too like greenish yellow in the bottle. I think it might be okay after it dries, but if it is still too greeny yellow once I put it on, then I can always like mix it with something else or dab something else over. So we're gonna start with this. Okay, that's definitely a little too greenish for my taste. I'm gonna take a little bit of the Kat Von D Super Brow Pomade in the shade Daffodil. I'm just gonna take that on a Sigma E06 winged liner brush and just put that over the Fenty liner, make it more yellow. I haven't entirely decided yet, but I think I might regret doing the yellow eyeliner. Whatever. We're gonna continue. And once we put, once you put lashes on, everything looks good. It's just the way it is. I'm gonna grab the ColourPop gel liner pencil in the color Punch. This is the old version of it. I think they just reformulated it and still have this color, if I'm not mistaken. I was gonna run that through my waterline. I'm gonna go put mascara on and add some lashes, and then we will finish up this look. Okay, I popped on some lashes and I finished my skin. I think these are House of Lashes Stella Luxe. I made the rookie ass mistake of leaving my lashes just on my counter and not putting them back in a box, and I have no idea what any of them are anymore. There's like 3 pairs here and they're a mystery to me. But that being said, now with lashes on, I actually like the yellow liner. I swear to God, lashes change everything. So to pair with this look, I want to keep it within the family of the tones that we've got going on here. So I'm going to pick up one of my favorite velveteens from Lime Crime. This is the shade Riot, a classic, a cult classic, you could say. And this is the first look. Okay, for look 2, I want to try something a little bit more less structured and maybe like more loose and abstract-ish, sort of. That's where my mind is going with it. I'm gonna define the crease, but just a little bit. So I'm gonna go into the shade Morning, which is right here. On a BH number 6 brush, I'm just gonna drag that through the crease area. On a pencil brush, I'm gonna go into the shade Aster, which is right here. This is like a duochrome purple shade. It reminds me of a darker version of Nabla Alchemy, kind of. Packing a bunch of that onto the brush, I'm gonna wet that with a little bit of MAC Fix Plus. And I'm gonna start by packing that on the inner corner. And I'm bringing that a little bit onto the inner portion of the lid as well. Once the color is down, I'm gonna pick up a clean brush and just blend the edges of it. That way we can soften it out without any extra and like blending it too far. On a Real Technique shading brush, I'm gonna go into the shade Glory, which is this very shade that we used in the first look. I'm gonna pack that onto the outer corner. And again, just taking a clean blending brush and blending the edges of that so we don't spread it much farther than we put it down. Once I've blended out the edges of that and made it a little bit more soft, I'm gonna go into the center of that and make it a little bit more condensed. Okay, I threw some concealer and powder underneath my eyes. It is looking very too bright on camera, but it'll all come together in the end. Now, while that shade does remind me of NABLA Alchemy, it is a little bit darker and less doesn't give as much pop. So I'm gonna add a little something over the top of it just to brighten the inner corner a little bit. You guys are probably so sick of me using these already, but I'm gonna use the Stila Little White Lie Shadow in the color Lilac Legend. If you ever feel like your makeup just isn't quite where you need it to be, I'm telling you, just pick one of these up. It's like magic. I'm gonna take a little bit of that on a Real Techniques detail brush and I'm gonna pop it right in the center, right in the tear duct. I'm gonna pick up my NABLA Lash Line Smudger brush. I'm gonna buff that into the lower lash line on the outer corner. I'm gonna take that same lash line smudger brush. I'm just gonna go into a little bit of the shade Clove. I'm just gonna press that in right at the outer corner and do the same thing at the top. For the waterline, I'm gonna do the outer half with Alkaline from Urban Decay. And for the inner half, I'm gonna use the shade Asphyxia, which is very similar to the purples we used. I'm gonna go finish up my lashes and skin and all that, and then we will go ahead and add a lip to neatly wrap this in a little bow. So I added the same lashes again. I finished my skin with a few faux freckles. I used the Urban Decay Brunette Betty Brow Blade. As usual, I added a different highlight this time. I used the NABLA highlight in the color Divinizer, which is like a little bit of a pinky shift because I felt like that went well with the colors around it. For the lip, I want to do something that's similar to the shades on the outer portion of the eye. So I'm going to line with Kat Von D Blood Milk Lip Liner and then fill it in with one of my favorite pinks. This is Miss Argentina. You could very, very easily pair this with a nude gloss or just something more simple if you wanted it to be a little bit less harsh or you just wanted it to be a little bit more comfortable to wear. If you did, I would recommend pairing these colors with more of a pink toned nude rather than a warm toned nude because I think it will flow better, but that's just my opinion. You can do whatever you want. And this is the second look. Time to start look number 3. First and foremost, I have done my eyebrows a little differently. I brought them a little closer, I mapped them out a little differently than I usually do. I feel like they look more even than usual, but I also think that I might look a little bit like Oscar the Grouch. So for this look, I want to do a spotlight eye type of a deal. I'm going to start by going into the shade Carnelian on that BH number 6 brush again, and I'm going to put it in my crease area, but I'm only putting that on the outer and inner portions. I'm going to leave the center a little bit more empty. Next, I'm going to pick up the shade Jasper on a Luxie 111 mini brush, and I'm going to put that near my lash line and bring that up into the more yellow shade that we already blended out a bit, stopping right about at the crease with that. And with a MAC 221 brush, I'm just going to blend where those two colors meet. For the open portion in the center, I'm going to go into the shade Day Spring. I'm going to put that on a Real Techniques shading brush, and I am going to wet that with a little bit of Fix Plus. You could use water, you could use rose water. There are a lot of things you can use. You're definitely not restricted to just Fix Plus. You could use any setting spray, even the Urban Decay one. The shade Agate, I think that's how you say that. That's one of those words where I've only ever seen it written. I've never heard anybody say it out loud. And is it agate? Is it agate? Is it agate? I don't know. I'm picking that up on a NABLA pencil brush and I'm going to spray that with Fix Plus as well. And I'm going to put that right in the center. And I'm bringing that up right up the center of the eye and above where we put down the crease colors. Just a little bit up further toward the brow. So far I am loving this palette, but the only thing that I am not super into is I feel like the shimmers, they don't have one in there that's truly bright and brings light to the center or the inner corner. So I've found myself using a lot of toppers and little complementary products. So I'm going to do the same thing right now. I'm going to pick up the Urban Decay Heavy Metal Glitter Liner in the color Starfire. This is from their new release of these colors. I did a review on that if you want to see it up here. But I think this shade in particular, because it's a rose goldy kind of shade, goes well with this. I'm going to put that right in the center of that look. And just like with the shadow, I'm bringing that up above the crease colors, just a touch. I just did my concealer and started to like work on my skin a little bit so we can move on to the lower lash line, but here's the thing, I'm stupid. I want to add a little bit something more to the upper lash line. I'm going to go into Clove and I'm going to pick up a little smudger brush and I'm going to use this shade right at the lash line just to deepen it up just the littlest bit. It's a subtle little tiny difference, but even if you just look at each eye just compared to one another, this one just looks more defined, and that is what we want, sir or ma'am. Now that that's done, I want to repeat a very similar process on the bottom, but instead of going into the more orange tones in this palette, I'm going to do it with the more pink tones in this palette. We're just going to do the same type of layout. So I'm going to go into the shade Glory, which has clearly been my favorite in this palette because I've used it, I think, in every single look so far. I'm going to pack that onto the outer corner on the lower lash line and on the inner corner. And just like we did on the top, I'm leaving the center open. If you're not used to doing a shape like this, you may feel scared at this stage that you've gone too far down, but I'm here to tell you that there's no such thing. It's gonna blend the edge of that with a clean brush. Just like on the top half, I'm gonna deepen the lash line with Clove. And in the center, going back into Dayspring. This time I'm using it on a pencil brush just so we can get into that smaller surface area, and I'm gonna wet it again. And I want to lighten up the center with one of the brighter shades in the palette. This time I'm going into Laurel instead of Agate. They're really, really similar, but this one just has a little bit more of a pink undertone, and we haven't used it yet, and it's the only one in the palette we haven't used, so I figured why not? And just like on the top half, I'm going to grab Starfire Glitter from Urban Decay and put it right in the center. I'm also going to do the waterline to reflect this shape. So I'm going to pick up the Urban Decay 24/7 pencil in the color Alkaline again, and in the center I'm going to use my Tarte Fake Awake pencil, which is just a bright nude. I'm going to add lashes and mascara shortly, but because we have this spotlight eye on the top and bottom, I want to do a little bit of a finishing touch that I like to do with this type of a look. This has been done a million times at this point, but I think the person I first saw do it was Kelsiana Fitzpatrick on Instagram. I was going to take a white liquid liner. This is Wet T-shirt from Fenty. I've often used the Urban Decay one or the NYX one. It doesn't really matter. And I'm just going to take that and drag it over the bottom lashes in the area where we put down the spotlight kind of effect, and just adds like another little level of interest to the look. I'm gonna go finish this up on the other side and add some lashes and mascara. We'll be right back. There's a creature crawling on my roof or something. What is that noise? Go away. So to complement this look, I feel like a juicy berry toned lip is in order. So I'm gonna pick up the NABLA lip pencil in the color Alter Ego and the MAC lip gloss in the color Cherry Mochi from the Boom Boom Bloom collection. And this is the third look. Okay, so after doing 3 looks with this palette, I think the palette is excellent quality. Excellent quality. Everything in here performs beautifully. Some shades had a little bit of fallout, others didn't as much. They are very soft, so I did notice a lot of kickback in the pan, but that's kind of to be expected with highly pigmented shadows. A couple of small complaints that I have is the packaging. Now, I noticed after I complained about the wiggly pan that this actually has holes in the back of the palette that you could pop these pans out to repot them, which is very handy if you're looking for a more condensed way to store your shadows or if you're a working makeup artist. So I get that, but that also explains like why one of the pans was kind of wiggling a little bit. They're not kind of permanently placed in here, if that makes sense. My other tiny little complaint is the shimmers are absolutely stunning. They're buttery. You can apply them dry and they go on so rich and like, just like buttery is the only way I can explain it. I'm trying to look for another word that's not buttery, but buttery is all I got. They're buttery as hell. However, none of them are like super reflective or super bright, and I feel like this palette could have used that. I would love to see one that's like really, really blinding. The yellowish shades Carnelian and Citrine are really nice yellows, but I do notice that they look a little bit darker on the skin than they do in the pan. That is very, very common with yellowish shadows, but just so you know, these are no different, they're no exception. Now, let's talk about the value of this palette. If you're talking about cost per gram, then this is exactly as expensive as her other palettes. Now, for me, I do not base my thought process on the value of a palette on the cost per gram. And it really comes down to why you buy eyeshadow palettes. As far as like why or why not that should be important for you. So for me, from my perspective, I buy new eyeshadow palettes, one, because I want to show you guys here on this channel. That's beside the point though. The other reason though is because I enjoy the overall experience of opening a new palette, trying the formulas, trying the color combinations that are displayed in there, experiencing the packaging, just the whole overall experience for me is the draw of an eyeshadow palette. So the total cost is more important to me than the cost per gram, because that might make the difference of whether I decide to buy it or not, because it's very rare that I would go through an entire eyeshadow palette, and so the cost per gram doesn't really factor in as much for me. But if you're looking for it more as an everyday palette and you're spending that money in order to get the most out of something that's gonna last you a long time, then that's gonna be a big deal for you. So that's the reason why it's less expensive. For me, that is excellent. That makes it more accessible to more people, in my opinion. It makes it accessible to me for sure. But I'm sure you might feel differently if you use your makeup collection differently than I do. On the whole, I'm super happy that they released a smaller palette at a lower price point, because quite frankly, I don't think I would have bought one ever otherwise. I just don't see it happening. I swear, like there's like a threshold of like what I'm willing to spend, and that was just above it by quite a margin. But I'm really glad that I got to experience the NATASHA DENONA formula for the first time. I have been wanting to for quite a while. So overall, I think it's beautiful. I think the overall packaging is beautiful. I don't think these are like undupable shades. I could definitely slap together a couple of the Anastasia palettes from my collection and get the exact shades in here pretty much. With all that being said, I would love to know what you guys think. Would you pick this up because it's at a lower price point? Do you like NATASHA DENONA shadows? Do you usually buy it when it's $129? I want to know what you think in the comments down below. Please don't forget to leave a like on this video if you enjoyed it, because that really helps me out and I super appreciate it. Also, did you know, fun fact, that when you leave a thumbs down on somebody's video, that it actually helps it in the algorithm? I learned that recently and I thought it was very interesting. But still, go ahead and leave me a thumbs up rather than a thumbs down, because quite frankly, they hurt my feelings. If you're new here, please don't forget to subscribe. I have plenty more videos like this where this came from. We do other fun things on this channel as well, and I think that you would enjoy it. If you want to keep up with retweet videos, come find me on Instagram. I'm at Ms. Quinface over there. I post all sorts of stuff on my feed. I keep things about this channel updated on my stories, along with, you know, polls and just chats, and you get to see the things I like to eat, are unboxings, sometimes the type of coffee that I'm drinking that day. It's a good time. Unfortunately, I have to take off this entire face immediately and run out to kickboxing class like now. So that's all for today. Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate every single one of you, and I will see you in the next one.